is on the screen, nice, neat workspace, checking pages. And then we're going to nominate our very first co-teacher of the lesson. Checking page 1, Josiah's getting his materials set up. Caitlin's flipping to Read Aloud, didn't even have to tell her. Checking page 2, Alex is sitting straight up, so is Noelani. Checking page 3, Brayden, get the blanket off of your shoulders, please, now. And checking page 4. Great. So I see those of us who are not already on the packet are getting there now. I love to see that. It's in your daily packet. And you're on chapter 24 called Veruca in the Nut Room. Third grade teachers, who's the first friend that you want to nominate to be a co-teacher with me today?
I noticed that Ma has been really engaged with every lesson today, trying his absolute best. So I would like to nominate Ma because I think he is totally ready to be a teacher.
Great. So Mai, I'm going to make you a co-host of our meeting, and I'm also going to rename you to be Mr. Cisse. So you are no longer Mott, but you are a teacher, and you are Mr. Cisse. Great. So did Dad hear that, Mott? Okay, so we're moving into Read Aloud today. And before we start reading, I just want to go over a few expectations. So I'm sharing my screen with you now. And your eyes are locked here, your hands are folded. Checking page 1. Remember, I'm going to need more helpers. Page 2, Aisha, eyes, nice to hear. Page 3, Madison, beautiful, straight back. That's why you got to be a helper last time. Nice job, Prince and David, beautiful posture. Noah, Lonnie, and Zoe. Evalise's eyes are locked, Aaron, on the screen. Great. So the materials that you need are your packet, flip to Read Aloud. We already talked about that. 1 pencil, and make sure that your phone is away. If you do not have a packet, it's fine. Do not chat a teacher or me to let us know. Just follow along on the screen, okay? So that means that your eyes are locked either on the packet or on the screen the entire time. If you want to be a co-teacher like Mr. Mott, your back is going to be straight. Your workspace is going to be neat. You're going to be actively listening. You should not have to have me repeat any question that I asked, Zoe Stooks. You should know it because you were listening so carefully. Your hands should be folded and your pencil should be down, just like Felix, unless I tell you to answer a question, okay? Before we move into chapter 4, I want you to think for a sec, or 24, I want you to think for a second about what has happened to our friends Augustus Gloop and Violet Beauregard. Think about what's happened to them. And what pattern do you notice is happening to all these kids? What pattern is emerging with all of these kids? Sum up if you have an idea what pattern is emerging here. Tracking Secure, coming to you, sweetie pie. Secure, what pattern is emerging?
The thing that happened to Violet and Augustus is that Augustus fell into the chocolate river and went up the pipe, and Violet turns into a giant blueberry. And I noticed that the pattern is going to all the spoiled brats that are greedy. I noticed that they're all greedy because they all want or love something.
Great. And Secure, because they're all greedy, Caitlin, add on, what's happening to all of these spoiled, greedy kids? Caitlin?
Because they're all greedy, they all have a it's like a consequence. It's like karma.
Totally.
Something bad.
Oh, I love that idea of karma and consequence. Give her some shine for using those grown up big kid words. Really nice job, folded hands. Checking pages in 3, 2, 1, and 0. Checking page 1, looking for my next teacher helper. Checking page 2. Wow, every single person on page 2, Michael Akia, is following my directions. Zoe Stanley with folded hands, Kair. Page 3, nice tracking, Owen. And page 4, nice calm body, Juan. Great, okay. So we're seeing this pattern emerge with all the guests at Willy Wonka's factory. Let's see what happens next in chapter 24, Veruca in the Nut Room. Show me you're ready to read with your back straight, your hands folded, and your eyes tracking either on the screen or your packet, just like Mr. Cisse, just like Aisha, and just like David. Teachers, please be looking out for our next teacher helper. Veruca in the nut room. Mr. Wonka rushed on down the corridor. The nut room, it said on the next door they came to. All right, said Mr. Wonka, stop here for a moment and catch your breath and take a peek through the glass panel of this door. But don't go in. Whatever you do, don't go into the nut room. If you go in, you'll disturb the squirrels. Everyone crowded around the door. Oh, Grandpa, look, cried Charlie. Squirrels, shouted Veruca Salt. Jeepers, said Mike TV. It was an amazing sight. 100 squirrels were seated upon high stools around a large table. Picture in your mind right now a bunch of squirrels sitting around almost a dining room table or something like that. It's kind of a silly image. I see Caitlin kind of smiling to herself. On the table, there were mounds and mounds of walnuts, and squirrels were working away like mad, shelling the walnuts at a tremendous speed. These squirrels are specially trained for getting the nuts out of walnuts, Mr. Wonka explained. Why use squirrels? Mike TV asked. Why not use Oompa Loompas? Because, said Mr. Wonka, Oompa Loompas can't get walnuts out of walnut shells in one piece. They always break them in two. Nobody except squirrels can get walnuts whole out of walnut shells every time. It's extremely difficult. But in my factory, I insist on using only whole walnuts. Therefore, I have to have squirrels to do the job. Aren't they wonderful the way they get those nuts out? And see how they first tap each walnut with their knuckles to be sure it's not a bad one? And if it's bad, it makes a hollow sound, and they don't bother to open it. They just throw it down the garbage chute. Pretend it's a bad nut. Throw it down the garbage chute right now behind your screen. Throw it away. Yeah, we don't want the bad ones. Fold those little hands. Second pages. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Yes, Felix. Nice straight back. Owen, I see you sitting up in your chair, Noah. Nice, Amelia. Zoe's eyes are locked. So are Eva Lisa's, Aaron. Great, let's keep reading. I'm watching all of you. But okay. There, look, watch that squirrel nearest to us. I think he's got a bad one now. And they watched the little squirrel as he taps the walnut shell with his knuckles. Tap, tap, tap right now. Knock, knock, knock. He cocked his head to one side, listening intently. And then, hands down, suddenly he threw the nut over his shoulder into a large hole in the floor. Hey, Mummy, shouted Veruca Salt suddenly. I've decided I want a squirrel. Get me one of those squirrels. Don't be silly, sweetheart, said Mrs. Salt. These all belong to Mr. Wonka. I don't care about that, shouted Veruca. I want one. All I've got at home is 2 dogs and 4 cats and 6 bunny rabbits and 2 parakeets and 3 canaries and a green parrot and a turtle and a bowl of goldfish and a cage of white mice and a silly old hamster, and I want a squirrel. Okay, Felix, I'm coming to you for a second because I noticed that you were reacting to the text, which shows me that you're listening super carefully, and I love when third graders listen so carefully. Felix, why are you making a face? His eyes are like super big. Felix, why did you make that face when I read that part?
I made that face when you read that part because she has a lot of pets, and now she wants a squirrel, which nobody like there has a squirrel or like a lot of pets in their house.
Totally. And so last time, Felix, we talked about how we can describe characters by what they say, what they do, and what they think. How would we describe Veruca based on what she's saying to her parents right now?
That she's kind of rude or spoiled or mean because she's like yelling at her mom that she wants a squirrel like one of the Willy Wonka's has.
Great. Hands are folded, backs are straight, resetting, getting ready to read. In 3, Dale, sit down. 2, 1, and 0. Page 1, Aisha, hands. Page 2, David, your back is still super straight. Fatumata, your eyes are locked on the screen. I love it. Michael Akia. Page 3, Carolyn, hand off your face. There, no hand off your face. Jace's eyes are locked. And Almami's hands are folded. He's tracking the screen. Izzy, so is Nadia. Great. All right, looking out for my next teacher helper. I'll pick the next one at the next break. All right, my pet, Mrs. Salt said soothingly. Mommy will get you a squirrel just as soon as she possibly can. But I don't want any old squirrel, said Veruca. Any old squirrel, Veruca shouted. I want a trained squirrel. At this point, Mr. Salt, Veruca's father, stepped forward. Very well, Wonka, he said importantly, taking out a wallet full of money. How much do you want for one of these crazy squirrels? Name your price. They're not for sale, Mr. Wonka answered. She can't have one. Who says I can't? shouted Veruca. I'm going in to grab me a squirrel this very minute. Don't, said Mr. Wonka quickly, but he was too late. The girl had already thrown open the door and rushed in. The moment she entered the room, 100 squirrels stopped what they were doing and turned their heads and stared at her with small, beady eyes. Veruca stopped also and turned back at them. Great, so I see friends flipping the pages, which shows me that they're really carefully following along. Nice job. Flipping it on the screen. Okay, then her gaze fell upon a pretty little squirrel sitting nearest to her end of the table. Wow, Aisha, you look like a role model. Nice straight back and folded hand. The squirrel was holding a walnut in its paws. All right, Veruca said, I'll have you. She reached out her hands to grab the squirrel. Reach out your hands to grab the squirrel, like Veruca did. But as she did, in that first split second, when her hand started to go forward, there was a sudden flash of movement, like a flash of brown lighting, and every single squirrel around the table took a flying leap towards her and landed on her body. If 100 squirrels landed on your body, show me what your face would look like. If 100 squirrels landed on your body. Yeah, Madison looks terrified. Tayer's screaming. JL is terrified. Zoe Stanley's like scared out of her mind. Great, back in Stellar 3, checking pages 2. Nice here. 1 and 0, Aisha. Wow, Zoe Stoops, you look like a role model, Kyer, because her hands are folded and certainly not in her mouth. Nice tracking eyes. Amelia and Noelani and Fatumata and Aaron, I love your straight back. Let's keep reading. I'm watching all of you, even as I read. Okay. 25 of the squirrels caught hold of her right arm and they pinned it down. 25 more caught hold of her left arm and they pinned that down. 25 caught hold of her right leg and anchored it to the ground, and 24 caught hold of her left leg. And the one remaining squirrel, obviously the leader of them all, climbed up to her shoulder and started tap, tap, tapping the wretched girl's heads with its knuckles. Put your hand on your head and tap, 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 tap on your head. They're tapping on her head. Fold your hands, face 2, checking rows 1 and 0. Love how Felix did this immediately. Save her! Screamed Mrs. Salt. Veruca, come back. What are they doing to her? Well, they're testing her to see if she's a bad nut, said Mr. Wonka. You watch. Scholars, nod or shake your head, agree or disagree. Do you think she's a bad nut? Do you think she's a bad nut? Everyone's agreeing. We've already said she's super spoiled, super greedy. Okay. Veruca struggled furiously, but the squirrels held her tight and she couldn't move. The squirrel on her shoulder went tap, tap, tapping the side of her head with his knuckles, and then all at once the squirrel pulled Veruca to the ground and started carrying her across the floor. My goodness, she is a bad nut after all, said Mr. Wonka. Her head must have sounded quite hollow. If something's hollow, it means it's empty. Veruca kicked and screamed, but it was no use. The tiny, strong paws held her tightly, and she couldn't escape. Where are they taking her? Shrieked Mrs. Salt. She's going where all the other bad nuts go, said Mr. Willy Wonka. Down the garbage chute. By golly, she is going down the chute, said Mr. Salt, staring through the glass door at his daughter. Then save her, cried Mrs. Salt. Too late, said Mr. Wonka. She's gone. And indeed she had. But where? Shrieked Mrs. Salt, flapping her arms. What happens to the bad nuts? Where does the chute go to? Well, that particular chute, Wonka told her, runs directly into the great big main garbage pipe, which carries away all the rubbish from every part of the factory. All the floor sweepings and potato peelings and rotten cabbages and fish heads and stuff like that. Who even eats the fish and cabbage and potatoes in this factory, I'd like to know, asked Mike TV. I do, of course, answered Mr. Wonka. You don't think I live on cocoa beans, do you? But, shrieked Mrs. Salt, where does the great big pipe go in the end? Why, to the furnace, of course, Mr. Wonka said calmly, to the incinerator. An incinerator is something that burns up all the garbage. An incinerator is something that burns up all the garbage. So, about to pick my next teacher friend, if someone can answer this question correctly. Where is Veruca Salt headed to? She went down this trash chute. Where's she headed to? Where's she going? Oh, so many friends. I'm going to call on someone who's been setting a really good example all day. Noelani, where is Miss Veruca Salt going to now?
Veruca Salt is is about to be, it's headed to the incinerator.
Yeah, she's headed to the incinerator. And what might happen to her, Noelani? I'm renaming you to make you a teacher. What might happen to her?
She might get burned like all the other garbage.
Yeah, and how, someone else, nice job, Miss Gonzalez. How is that similar? How is that similar to what happened to Augustus and what happened to Veronica? Well, how is that, to Violet. How is that similar to what happened to them? Aisha, go for it, babe. You've been looking like a role model the whole day as well.
Because they go go away just like the other
Jordan.
the other kids that were greedy.
Absolutely, yeah. They're all ending up going away. Great, okay. We're getting ready to read again. Fold your hands back straight, eyes on me. In 3, just like Miss Gonzalez, just like Mr. Cisse, who are setting examples for the rest of the class. In 2, 1, Fatima, a nice folded hands. And Luna, sit up, please. 0, nice posture, Darius and Nicholas. Great, we're going back to my screen. Here we go. Don't worry, said Mr. Wonka. There's always a chance they've decided not to light it today. A chance, yelled Mrs. Salt. My darling Veruca, she'll be sizzled like a sausage. I'm flipping the page and I see other scholars doing it as well. Nice job. Quite right, my dear, said Mr. Salt. Now see here, Wonka, he added, I think you've gone just a shade too far this time. I do indeed. My daughter may be a bit of a frump, I don't mind admitting it, but that doesn't mean you can roast her to a crisp. I'll have you know I'm extremely cross about this. I really am. Oh, don't be cross, my dear sir, said Mr. Wonka. I expect she'll turn up again sooner or later. She may not have even gone down at all. She may be stuck in the chute just below the entrance hole, and if that's the case, all you'll have to do is go in and pull her up again. Okay, great. Scholars, I want us to focus on this illustration on page 114. If you don't have it, that's okay. It's right up here for you. Look at this picture. We know that authors are real people who really make decisions about the text that they write, okay? Why do we think Roald Dahl included this image? What is this illustration showing us about Veruca Salt's parents? Thumbs up if you know. What is that illustration showing us about her parents? Going to you, Mishael. Mishael, what is that illustration showing us, sweetie pie? I can't hear you, Mish. I'm going to go to someone else. Who else has an idea about what that illustration is showing us? Going to David. Go for it, Dave.
This illustration is showing us how Veruca Salt's parents are feeling, and it shows us that they're feeling worried.
Yeah, how can you tell they're worried, Dave?
I can tell that their parents are worried because Veruca Salt's mom is screaming and flapping her arms, and Veruca Salt's dad is looking at Mr. Wonka like he is very mad.
Great. So earlier we talked about hands folded back straight, checking pages 3, 2, 1, and looking for my teachers to set a great example. 0, page 1, everyone's doing it. Page 2, know a good fix. Page 3, Jordan, I will not ask you again to stay seated. Page 3, Umar, nice tracking eyes. Page 4, Luna, way to fix it. Yes, Brayden, I love your tracking. Jaden, hands folded. Karina, wow, Michael Kuzi, you're setting an example for the rest of the class. I could send you to 4th grade along with Aaliyah. Okay, eyes on me. Before we said that we could describe characters by what they say, what they do, and what they think. David just used this photograph, or this illustration rather, to tell me how her parents were feeling. They're really worried and they're really upset. But I want to hone in on what the parents have been doing the whole time. The mom's been screaming at Wonka. Here she's like so upset. She's flailing her arms at Wonka. They're saying, you've gone too far. How could we describe them? We know how they're feeling, but based on their actions, how could we describe her parents? How could we describe her parents? We know how we describe Veruca. How would we describe her parents, Sarah? Coming to you, go ahead.
I think that they can be described as impatient because
Why?
Because they don't let Willy Wonka tell them what might happen to her.
Okay, great. They're being really impatient with Mr. Wonka. Other ideas? How could we describe her parents? Caitlin, you've been so eager to participate. Caitlin, add on.
I think I want to add on because I think
Secure
that
tracking.
I think her parents are kind of overprotective because
Oh.
they didn't even let her go. They didn't even want to let her go in, even though they give her everything. And
Yeah.
to wait for Mr. Wonka to finish speaking.
Yeah, beautiful answer. Give Caitlin some shine. That was awesome. That was a 4th or 5th grade answer. Listen, eyes on me. Yeah, they're being really overprotective of her, and they're kind of allowing her to behave this way, and they're blaming Wonka. They're not saying like, oh, well, Veruca wasn't following the directions. They're blaming Wonka for her misbehavior and her acting so spoiled and bratty. All right, we're getting ready to read again. Hands folded back straight in 3. Zoe Stanley 2. Nafis, you look like a role model. So happy to have you in here today, setting an example for everyone else. In 1 and checking pages 0, Evilise. Checking page 1, JL, stop with the camera, please. Checking page 2, Kylie Ray, get out of the camera now. Checking page 3, Aaliyah's eyes are locked. Checking page 4, Peyton, you're making great choices as well. Joelle, sit back a little bit, sweetheart. Carolyn, nice posture. Wow, Ariana, you also look like a role model. Okay, we're continuing to read. I'm at the top of the 2nd page on this slide. Veruca, shouted Mrs. Salt, are you down there? There was no answer. Mrs. Salt bent further. Wow, nice tracking your paper, Secure. Mrs. Salt bent further forward to get a closer look. She was now kneeling right on the edge of the hole with her head down and her enormous behind sticking up in the air like a giant mushroom. Secure's laughing. I know you're listening. It was a dangerous position to be in. She needed only one little tiny push. Give a little tiny push to your camera now. One gentle nudge. Give a gentle nudge. And that is exactly what the squirrels gave her. Over she toppled into the hole head first, screeching like a parrot. Good gracious me, said Mr. Salt as he watched his fat wife go tumbling down the hole. Secure, you're cracking up. What a lot of garbage there's going to be down there today. He saw her disappear into the darkness. What's it like down there? He called out. He leaned further forward. Wow, I'm flipping the page and I notice that I see Aisha doing the same because she's following along. Checking pages, hands folded. 3, ready to end this chapter. 2, 1, and 0. Let's see who looks like a great reader and can be made a co-teacher after this. David, you look like a role model. JL, unfortunately, I cannot say the same for you. Evalise's eyes are locked on her packet. So are Nafisa's. Karina's sitting up nice and tall and her hands are folded, setting an example for the rest of the grades. Great, let's keep reading. The squirrels rushed up behind him. Help, he shouted, but he was already toppling forward, Felix, and down the chute he went, just as his wife had done before him and his daughter. Oh dear, cried Charlie, who was watching with the others through the door. What on earth's going to happen to him now? I expect someone will catch them at the bottom of the chute, said Mr. Wonka. And what about the great fiery incinerator? Asked Charlie. They only light it every other day, said Mr. Wonka. Perhaps this is one of the days when they let it go out. You never know. They might be lucky. Shh, said Grandpa Joe. Listen, here comes another song. And from far away down the corridor came the beating of the drum. And then the singing began. I'm seeing a lot of friends moving around, and it's distracting for me, definitely distracting for you and for your other classmates. Let's fold our hands and sit up nice and tall and stop moving around, Jasmine, just like Prince, just like Fafa, just like Brayden, and just like Karina and Dariani. Veruca Salt, sang the Oompa Loompas. Veruca Salt, this little brute, has just gone down the garbage chute. And as we very rightly thought that in a case like this, we ought to see the thing completely through, we've polished off her parents too. Down goes Veruca down the drain, and here perhaps we should explain that she will meet as she descends a rather different set of friends. To those that she has left behind, they won't be so nearly refined. A fish head, for example, cut this morning from a halibut. Hello, good morning, how'd you do? How nice to meet you, how are you? And then a little farther down, a mass of others gather round, a bacon rind, some rancid lard, a loaf of bread gone stale and hard, a steak that nobody could chew, an oyster from an oyster stew, some liverwurst so old and gray, one smelled it from a mile away, a rotten nut, a reeky pear, a thing the cat left on the stair, and lots of other things as well, each with a rather horrid smell. These are Veruca's newfound friends that she will meet as she descends, nice tracking secure. And this is the price she has to pay for going so very far astray. For now, my dears, we think you might be wondering, is it really right that every single bit of blame and all the scolding and the shame should fall upon Veruca Salt? Is she the only one at fault? For though she's spoiled, and dreadfully so, a girl can't spoil herself, you know. Who spoiled her then? Ah, who indeed? Who pondered to her every need? Who turned her into such a brat? Who are the culprits? Who did that? Alas, you needn't look so far to find out who those sinners are. They are, and this is very sad, her loving parents, mom and dad. And that is why we're glad they fell into the garbage chute as well. Okay, so I want to see who is listening, and this is going to be my next teacher helper. Why are the Oompa Loompas blaming the parents? Why are they blaming Veruca's parents? Thumbs up if you have an idea. My next teacher helper is going to be chosen from someone that has their thumb up and has been sitting in perfect posture the entire time, Diego, and definitely not eating in front of the camera. Why are they blaming Veruca's parents? Coming to, I want to pick a boy this time. Jaden, it can't be you because unfortunately your pencil is up. Alex, you've looked so good all day. Alex, why are they blaming Veruca's parents?
I think they're blaming Veruca's parents because I think the Oompa Loompas think that Veruca Salt's parents taught her how to be spoiled and were spoiled in the first place.
Absolutely, you're right. Nice job. They taught her how to be spoiled. They allowed her to be spoiled. So I'm going to rename you Mr. Marrero. I made you co-host, and you are my third teacher helper today. I will pick one more friend by the end of the block. Nice smile, Alex. I love to see you so happy. All right, hands folded, back straight, eyes on me. In 3, 2, 1, who's going to be my next teacher helper? And 0. Checking page 1, it could be almost anyone. Dior on page 1. They all look so professional. Page 2, looking professional as well. Page 3, Lee, and it's going to be a call home if we need to address the movements again. And page 4, wow, Peyton, you look like a 4th grader. Really nice straight back. Okay, let's move into our questions. I'm pulling my PowerPoint back up. Remember, I can still see you even when my PowerPoint is on the screen. Aisha's tracking so nicely. Number 1 says, which of the following statements best states the main idea of this chapter? So this question's asking me what this chapter is mostly about. Okay, so I want to think to myself, what was the main point of this chapter? And the biggest idea I have about this chapter is that Veruca and her parents go down the chute, mostly because they weren't listening. Okay, and that's been a theme that's repeated throughout the book, is that these kids end up in trouble or they end up being sent away because they're doing the wrong thing. Okay, so I'm going to jot that now as my draft. And I can see, let's see who I see watching my screen. Madison Camargo is watching my screen so carefully. Okay, there's my draft. Now let's go through my answer choices. I'm going to be modeling this, but you are still agreeing, disagreeing, nodding, or shaking your head as I go. It is mostly about how squirrels tell the difference between good and bad nuts. No, that leaves out our main characters. I'm going to cross that out. B, it is mostly, thanks Madison for immediately disagreeing. It is mostly about what happens when squirrels get angry. So again, we're not mentioning our main characters here. It says nothing about Veruca. I'm going to cross that out. C, it is mostly, wow, I see Aisha responding as well. It is mostly about the consequences of Veruca not following directions. So that line here, not following directions, matches my idea perfectly. So I'm going to keep that for now. It is mostly about all the reasons Veruca always gets what she wants. Agree or disagree, did Veruca get what she wanted here? Did she get her squirrel? Miss Gonzalez is disagreeing with me. No way. So my answer is C. This is the main idea of this article. or rather this chapter is that's mostly about the consequences of Veruca not following directions. And by the way, let's see who is listening for my next teacher helper. What was the consequence of Veruca not following directions in this chapter? What was the consequence of her not following directions? Erin, you look like a role model. Go for it, Erin.
The consequence that she had was that she went down the garbage hole to the incinerator.
Yeah, she went to the incinerator. And what does an incinerator do?
It burns up all the trash.
Wow, Miss Erin. So I am going to rename you and make you a co-host. You've been looking amazing, and you've had perfect attendance today, which is really, really, really exciting. So you are Ms. Erin now. You are my teacher helper. Okay. Hands are folded back, they're straight, like my teacher helper, setting an example for the rest of the room. In 3, 2, 1, checking pages, and 0. Checking page 1. I have a poll for you that I'd love for us to do together. Checking page 2. Wow, Sarai, you look like a role model. Glad to see you back. Checking page 3. Mr. Cisse, your back couldn't be straighter. And page 4, Roshin's eyes, Leon, are locked. All right, let's go back to my screen. Let's look at number 2. So, number 2 says, what does Mr. Willy Wonka say is the most important reason to avoid going into the nut room? So it's on the screen. It's also in your packet as I do number 2. What does Mr. Willy Wonka say is the most important reason to avoid going into the nut room? So I've given you some text here if you don't have it in front of you. Go back, find evidence, draft, and find an answer, and then we're going to do a poll. 2 minutes to find your answer using all of your habits. Go. I'm scanning pages to see scholars that are doing the right thing. So I see Jordan going back to the text, which I just love to see. Miss Erin is going back to the text as well. Karina's staring intently. I know she's going to get this right. Mommy, stop dancing, please. Sally Matu's flipping back between the text. Mr. Cisse is working really hard. Saraz pencils to paper. 1 more minute. Choosing A, B, C, or D. If you're done, put a thumbs up and I can put the poll up. Wow, Erin, I don't think your back could be straighter. I mean, Miss Erin, sorry. Matthew, you look great as well. Amelia, I see you working, girl. All right, 10 more seconds. A, B, C, or D. 10, 9, 8, 7, and then the poll goes up. 6, 5. Miss Gonzalez, you could just go to 5th grade right now. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, poll coming up for you. I want every single scholar to choose an answer choice. A, B, C, or D. Go. 15 seconds to put your answer on the poll. 15, 14. Ooh, I'm seeing a lot of right answers. 13, 12. Yes, 3rd grade. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Poll is closing. I'll give you 3 more seconds. 3. Poll is closing in 2. Poll is closing in 1. And 0. Done. Hands are folded, backs are straight. Checking rows in 3, 2. Checking pages in 3, 2, 1, and 0. Checking page 1. Felix, nice job. Checking page 2. Karina's back is super straight. Checking page 3. Peyton's eyes are locked. And checking page 4, Jaden's eyes are locked. Okay, so almost every single scholar picked D as the answer choice. Let's give each other 2 claps. Zoe Stanley, why was D the answer, sweetheart? Coming to you, Zoe. Go ahead.
It was the answer because when he says that, Later, Veruca disturbed the squirrel, so then she got put into the chute, which shows us why he doesn't want us to go in, why he doesn't want them to go in there, so they won't go down the chute too. If they
Yeah, good girl. She disturbed the squirrels. They decided she was a bad nut, and then they threw her down the garbage chute. Holy moly. Okay, resetting in Scholar in 3, checking pages 2 for our last one. 1, looking for someone to write on the screen in 0. Page 1 looks ready. Nice posture, secure. Page 2, Prince, you've been really impressing me this block. Page 3, Umar, sit up, sweetheart. Page 3, Dariani's getting to her problems. Page 4, Sarai is smiling at mommy and her back is really straight. Page 4, Roisin, we are folding our hands right now, Sarah. Beautiful. Okay, Mr. Cisse, nice job. We're moving to question we do number 4. Get to we do number 4. It says, which best describes the tone of the illustration on page 114? Which best describes the tone of the illustration on page 114? And because I was feeling nice, I gave you the illustration here. I'm going to give you 1 minute to pick A, B, C, or D, and then I'm going to call on the best looking scholar, the one that's the most focused, to circle the answer on the screen. 1 minute, go. Nice, focus, secure. I see Prince staring really hard, trying to figure out the answer. I know he'll get this right. Zoe, nice, working. Miss Erin is working hard. Luna's working hard. Kareen's is going to the text as well, but Kareen's is also here if you need it. Peyton's eyes are definitely on the screen. Wow, Felix is done, and I know because his hands are folded. 30 seconds. Who's going to get to draw on my screen? I don't know. Okay, checking pages, looking for someone to help me in 3, 2, 1, and 0. Page 1, page 2, page 3. Wow, a lot of people want to draw. Page 4, because you all look so great. Page 5, page 6. January, pencil out of your mouth. That's extremely unsafe, not to mention gross. Page 5, 6. Nice tracking, Jaden, and 7. Okay, beautiful. So I am coming to you, Peyton. Peyton, draw the answer on the screen for us now. Circle A, B, C, or D, please. Scholars, you should be agreeing or disagreeing. I'm checking pages to make sure you are agreeing or disagreeing now. Okay, he said be furious. Agree or disagree with be furious. David is agreeing. Noah Lonnie is agreeing. Eva Lise is agreeing. Miss Aaron is agreeing. Karina is agreeing. Karina, tell us why, sweetheart, is B the answer? Okay, you're done now, Peyton.
B is the answer. B is the answer because when I looked at the picture, I see them like the mom
Carolyn,
like
please stop.
shouting at Mr. Willy Wonka.
Yeah, the mom shouting. What else tells us that they're furious? What else do we see? Someone else? Nice job, Karina. Good to hear your voice. What else tells us that they're furious? What else tells us they're furious? Sarah, what else are they doing that tells us they're really, really mad?
She is waving her hands.
Yeah, she's waving her hand. Yeah, she's waving her hands at Willy Wonka. Nice job. Good to hear your voice. Okay, checking pages, ready to close out our day in 5, 4, 3, back straight, best posture I've ever seen in 2, 1, and 0. Checking page 1. Nice job, Madison. Checking page 2. Lovely. Checking page 3, Nafis. Excellent. Focus the entire day. I bet you could be a teacher helper tomorrow. Checking page 4. Amelia's eyes have just not left my screen, Carolyn. Checking page 6 and page 7. Mr. Cisse, you continue to impress me. Nicholas, nice tracking eyes. Okay. Listen, so today we read a chapter about Veruca going away. What do you think might happen to our other friend, Mike TV? What do you think might happen to Mr. TV here? based on the pattern that's emerging, what might happen? Go ahead, Maddie.
What might happen is that he might also get something bad, and he might not be with Willy Wonka anymore.
And who's going to be the only one left if that's the case, Maddie?
The only one left is gonna be Charlie.
Absolutely. Interesting. Okay, hands are folded, backs are straight. Really nice day today. I was excited that some of you got to be my teacher helper. I can't wait to have more of you be my helpers tomorrow. If you are with my group, Miss Aquino's group, Miss Hines' group, or Miss O'Donnell's group, you are logging in for a reading check at 4 p.m. Secure. Make sure you do your homework and your reading tonight. And then we will see you tomorrow at 9. Miss O'Donnell, did you want to announce about homework?
Yes, you read my mind. So scholars, I just wrote in the chat exactly what your homework is. Your parents all have it in Jupiter in case you forget. But what you are doing is you're completing some of your math from today, and you are writing your introduction and your conclusion for your, my video's not on, for your extended response for TA. Who can tell us what our homework is tonight, and for bonus love, what packet it's in? What's our homework tonight, and where would we find it, David?
Our homework for tonight is to finish the math that we did from earlier and to do our introduction.
Thank you. Yes, and the exact problems will be found in Jupiter, and they're also in your chat.
Okay, we will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Wave bye to your classmates. Bye, friends. Mwah.